Yeah, I mean, for me, as an actor too, like stories and how you portray them are so important. And I think when you have an opportunity to bring awareness to something, you should, you know. And I've been really fortunate to work with John Elliott, who's an amazing Tuscarora director and out from Six Nations. And he just has such an amazing passion for wanting to bring awareness to our communities and what's really going on there in our Indigenous community. And he's amazing. Like his cinematography, like just his vision. I wish I had his vision. Um, and so whenever he's, you know, asks me like, hey, do you want to collaborate on this? Do you want to do this? I'm just like, yeah, like I don't care if it's non-paying. I don't, you know, because for me, it's like people have a hard time, I think, taking in stuff when it's just a lot of verbiage or they don't understand it or they can't visualize it. So being able to put these messages into film and to talk about them in a different narrative really makes people like take a step back, and they can, as much as, you know, you don't want to like water things down, in a sense sometimes you need to just to get them, you know, to listen and to understand. So Along the Water's Edge was really important because what most people don't realize is, you know, an hour away from Toronto there is a reservation that is dealing with the water issue. You know, they don't have clean drinking water in their homes, or, you know, to even bathe or shower in. And they do have to go to drive their trucks to go get water, you know. And I find it interesting that people will see these advertisements and hear about the stuff in Africa or the, you know, or any, you know, third world country where we're seeing people having to walk with water jugs. And we're like, oh my God, these poor people, how do they not have clean water? But yet an hour away from Toronto, people are doing the same thing. So I think that it's just really important that we have these opportunities to tell these stories. But what's also important is that the right people are telling the stories, and it should be coming from an Indigenous person and an Indigenous narrative. You know, I never lived on the reserve, so it wouldn't make sense for me to write a story about that, but I'm happy to collaborate with people who have those experiences, and I can help bring a truth to that matter. And, you know, it's the same for when we were doing Her Water Drum about, you know, missing and murdered Indigenous women. And when we were on Six Nations, we were filming in a home. And that was one of the things that really hit me hard was, you know, not being able to wash my hands in that water. Like I you know, they had to bring drinking water in for us. And I thought to myself, so how is it that these people have to survive this every single day? So if people do get a chance to watch Along the Water's Edge, I think it's really important because it's not just about our Indigenous nations, it's about the whole world. And if we keep going the way we're going, you know, we are going to taint all of our water and we're all going to be in this predicament. But why do we have to wait until it affects all of us to start making that change, right? So, you know, being in these kinds of movies, and the same with Acknowledgement that just came out as a part of the awareness series for the Toronto Museum. You can access that on YouTube on the Toronto Museum's channel. And we did a piece, you know, John wrote it and directed it, but I was part of it with John about acknowledgement and land acknowledgement. And are we giving credit where it's due? And do you know the true histories of our lands and the lands that we have prospered from? Like all of these stories need to be told. So for me, I'm just always so honored, and I'm always like, okay, bring your best, like do it justice, because these are such important stories to tell. But yeah, I mean, I think like no matter whatever your passion is, whatever you're advocating about, whatever you want to see, when we talk about that influencer piece and you want to see that change there, if you can find a way into it, do it. You know, it doesn't, I mean, for me, the Indigenous piece, just because of, you know, my family's history and stuff like that is important to me, but it doesn't matter what it is, you know, anti-trafficking, it could be anything at all. I feel like people, yeah, should take this opportunity. We have a platform that most people don't get, you know, and I think that everybody's going to deal with it differently. Not everybody is very open and vocal as I am, and that's okay, right? You can do things behind the scenes, or you donate or send food or whatever it is you're doing, but we have an obligation. And I think as a white passing person, I have an obligation to you know, to bring those to the forefront and to create pathways for those who are telling those stories to start telling them. you know, like I know that I have a privilege, and I think that in that I have an obligation to use it to the best of my ability to help those who don't. So yeah, I love doing that kind of work.